Happy Monday, everybody. It's Jim, it's Amadeus, and what a crazy week we got for you. We got college basketball all week long as we get close to 1 week from today. Okay. Amadeus and I will be talking a little bracketology because then we will know who is in and who isn't as we start the madness, as they say. But, Amadeus, there was some madness over the weekend in the English Premier League. Catch us up if you would, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. A wild weekend in the Premier League. So, we came in with Liverpool leading the
Mm-hmm.
table, Man City right behind them by one
Mm-hmm.
point, and Arsenal sitting there in third place. But it was a significant weekend because Liverpool and Man City had to play each other. So, someone's got to drop points in
Right.
the match, right? You can't have both come away with three there. So, obviously, it was going to be a significant matchup no matter what. And sure enough, Arsenal, they got their job done at home. They beat Brentford 2-1 to collect the full 3 points, leaving it in the hands of Liverpool and Man City. And Arsenal couldn't have asked for a better outcome because they needed really a draw from that, and that's exactly what they got, a nice 1-1 draw at Anfield from Liverpool and Man City. And now we sit in the current situation where we got Arsenal back at the top of the table, 64 points,
Mm-hmm.
tied with Liverpool at 64 points, and Man City in third, right there at 63 points. So, Liverpool and Arsenal tied. Arsenal is ahead as they have one more win
Mm-hmm.
than Liverpool. Liverpool has 19 wins, Arsenal 20 wins. They also have the better goal differential, Arsenal. But yeah, Man City, 1 point behind. It was definitely an eventful weekend. Even, Tottenham with a 4-0 win over Aston Villa. That was, a fourth versus fifth matchup there.
Mm-hmm.
And that was on the road for Tottenham. So Tottenham's now 2 points behind Aston Villa, and they got a chance to creep themselves back up into the top four before the season ends. So definitely it's going to be a very interesting one down the stretch, especially when, I've talked a lot about this Tottenham team, how good they can be when they're healthy. Well, guess what, Jim? Tottenham might just be deciding who wins the title this year because between April 20th and May 4th, they play 3 straight matches against Man City, Arsenal, and Liverpool. So that stretch
Wow.
right there very well could decide the Premier League title, late in April or early May there.
Well, I'll tell you what. It's the ratings have been really phenomenal on the NBC networks for the Premier League this year. It's been a really big one, and so with I believe it's set 10 games left in the season. It's gonna be a barn burner on that aspect. We talked about the top of the table. At the bottom of the table, who looks like they're going to get relegated, or is that just a mashup as well?
Yeah, so it looks like Sheffield and Burnley are pretty much going to be relegated there. Now, obviously, that could change, but there is a
Right.
significant gap here. They're both at the bottom, tied with 14 points. And
Mm-hmm.
the next team in 18th, that final relegation spot, is Luton Town at
Huh.
21 points. But, Luton has a good 6 points on Burnley and Sheffield.
Mm-hmm.
But they're only 3 points behind Nottingham Forest, 4 points behind
Wow.
Everton, 5 points behind Brentford. So there is a bit of a mashup. Now, if I had to
Mm-hmm.
say, I think Luton Town will be the team that gets relegated just because I thought, from a talent perspective, they were the worst
Mm-hmm.
team coming into the Premier League this season. Obviously, that hasn't been the case as they haven't really been at the foot of the table all year.
Mm-hmm.
And I chalk that more up to them understanding how to play the game, the Premier League, style better than the
Mm-hmm.
other two teams that came up, and that's where I see that performance come from. And I've even heard, people, the Premier League experts over in England talk about how Luton Town is that exactly, individually the players are terrible, but you put them together on a team and they play very well, right? So again, you see that chemistry aspect and how it can affect
Right.
improve the performance of players that are maybe, below average. But definitely, I think Luton Town is headed for relegation. Nottingham Forest has a solid team. Same with Everton. Everton obviously had the point stuff, which has them down there. I think they're good enough to stay, though. Luton Town had that nice stretch during the winter time where they were, winning a lot of games, but they've kind of died down now. And a lot of that has to do with Luton Town, during that winter stretch when they were a lot of the teams near the bottom of the table were playing well because they were playing less matches. Obviously, when they go up against these other teams, like if you looked at Newcastle at the time, they had 11 plus injuries at the time. They were running thin on the squad. Plus, you have to play Champions League matches, both English Cups run. So if you're in those tournaments as well, there's a lot of matches you have to play in the wintertime in the Premier League. So we saw it. You saw it reflect in the results with the teams in the bottom half of the table playing better during that stretch. But now, we kind of had January was a bit of a break, more so cup matches, weren't as many Premier League matches. And there was also that Champions League, Europa League break where they finished in December and didn't start up till halfway through February. That's when we started to see these teams lower in the table start to die down in form, more draws, and then those draws turning to losses. While the teams at the top of the table, like Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City, they're on 6-game winning streaks in the league. They've done nothing but excel because they got that good rest that they was much needed from that, condensed schedule in winter. And now they're ready to, tackle the schedule, this last stretch of the season. So definitely it's been evident in the results. And I think at this point, Luton Town, they're still clinging on to some of that form as they're scoring a lot of goals, but the defense has been an issue because for every 2 goals they score, they give up 2 goals, and that's where their problem lies. So I can definitely see them dwindling down the stretch and being the team, the third and final team that gets relegated.
Yeah, the one that gets bounced. So there we go in that. Couple of interesting signings over the weekend. Let's start with I think most people thought that somehow, some way, Jason Light would figure a way out to sign Baker Mayfield back to Tampa Bay, and he did. It was a 3-year, $100 million contract. $50 million of that is guaranteed. He can make 115 million if with incentives and such. So Baker Mayfield will be back in a Bucs uniform for the next 3 years. And it's funny, I heard a lot of, by the way, that number, the 115 or whatever million puts him at number 16 in quarterbacks paid in the National Football League. So, there you go in that standpoint. But what I thought was interesting was that the fans were, very excited to get him back. But as is the case sometimes, sports talk radio hosts were going, well, he's kind of like a middle of the pack quarterback. And, so like, okay, he just had one of the best years in college in the NFL last season. I'm not so sure. I mean, maybe he just found a stable situation where everything went well for him. I'm surprised that he was getting some heat from the media in the Bay Area.
Yeah, just I don't know. The consistency has always been an issue throughout his career because of obviously the situations he's been in. So I'm excited to see what he does this year. Obviously, he's our guy. That was our team this year. So everybody's running it back. They locked down him. They locked down Mike Evans. They got the OC that they wanted and that
Liam,
they liked.
yeah.
So
Liam Cohen. Yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, the gang's they brought the band back. So there you go.
Let me just see something here quickly, right? Because last year, we talked a lot about how they were plus 700, dead last to win that division. I'm just curious if there's maybe futures out because I know they do. Right after the Super Bowl, they already had the Super Bowl for this year odds ready to go. So, sure enough, here are the division odds. And as of right now, they are still not the favorite to win that division. They are second at plus 240. They're ahead of the Saints and the Panthers. But your favorite is the Atlanta Falcons at plus 140.
Oh, where do I start?
The Falcons have no quarterback.
Okay. Let me begin by saying that I love Raheem Morris. I mean, one of the sweetest people on the planet. Love him. I wish him well. Okay. I don't wish him well enough to get past the Buccaneers, but I wish him well. Okay. They got nothing. Okay. They don't have receivers. They don't. I don't know what the hell puts them in the future. As you said, and it's a very very interesting point. They don't have a quarterback. Okay. They just got an offensive coordinator. Raheem's a defensive guy. Their defense isn't that good. If it was that good, they'd have made the playoffs last year. So I'm sorry. I've got nothing. I have no idea. But that's okay. That's all right because it'll give you a chance to win more money this time again. So there's that. I got to say, one of the most interesting pickups was Russell. Russell Wilson going to the Steelers. I'm curious. Do you think small hands Kenny Pickett is going to get some challenge from Russ? I mean, I'm not sure. Russ doesn't feel to me like he wanted to go someplace where he's going to sit on the bench.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't understand the signing because it's one of those like, who's the starter now, right? And obviously, Trubisky's out of the equation.
Yeah,
I think that actually happened right after one of our shows last week. He signed the 2-year deal with Buffalo Bills. Literally, it was like a 3 o'clock after one of our shows.
Yeah.
But it's one of those where I could see Kenny being the star. I think it might straight up be a quarterback. It's going to be a quarterback
rotation
competition going
into
into the season. Yeah, like with the preseason and the OTAs and stuff like that. I think that it's going to be one of those things where you got to earn the job, both of you. Let's see it. Prove to me who's better.
Here's the thing that too, right? They got him for $1 million. Now I know a lot of people were, a lot of NFL fans, specifically Steeler fans, are going, we only had to pay him $1 million. Well, that's true. And the reason you only had to pay him $1 million is he's still collecting a massive check from the Denver Broncos and will be collecting a massive check for the next couple of years. Okay. So he could take a flyer. He meaning Russell could take a flyer. I think what he feels is, he wants to go a place where he can win. I think he believes that with the Steelers, he can start. He's going to be in an interesting division, to be sure, because that's a stacked division. I mean, every team in that division finished over 500 last year.
Not to mention Joe Burrow's coming back this
year. Joe Burrow's coming back.
Healthy, you would think. So
Deshaun Watson should be healthy.
Yeah, that too. Almost where they just picked up Jerry Jeudy, ex Wilson teammate there.
Right. Maybe Jerry Jeudy and the Steelers were, they were in on that deal too. And Cleveland ended up, getting him. But maybe if he thought Russ was going, he would have hung out and waited and ended up in Pittsburgh. But they'll find players. I mean, that's something Mike Tomlin is very good at, and the draft's coming up, so he'll figure out what they need and go and find it.
Yeah.
But I think Russ to Pittsburgh is not a bad idea.
Yeah, I think if you're Russell Wilson, you're looking at it a few different ways, right? You're getting a competent head coach who's never really had a losing season these past few years. So, you got to be somewhat in contention for the wild card at least if you can, you play well. And then on top of that, you have a solid defense as a safety net to fall back on, right? So something that, Denver was supposed to have this Super Bowl defense for years, but never really shaped up quite to what it was supposed to be. I mean, they did get better last season, but still, it wasn't nothing like the Steelers. The Steelers have been, regarded as one of the better defenses in the NFL for the last few years now. So
and Watt's going to come back healthy. Minka Fitzpatrick's going to come back healthy. There's no reason to believe that defense isn't probably going to be better than it was
Yeah,
last year because those guys were
absolutely.
banged up quite a bit. And look, if you're Russ, right, you've got to look and, we just got finished talking about Baker Mayfield. There's no reason that Russ couldn't have a year that would put him back in the, I don't know, I'm not going to say elite category, but certainly one of the top quarterbacks in the league. He's got the potential. He's proven that he can do it. So, I think it was a win-win for both Russell and Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where he's subject to the system that he's in, and we
Right,
saw
sure.
that his last few years in Denver. So it's one
Right.
of those things where if Tomlin can tailor the playbook to his likings and they can see eye to eye on things, then I don't see why he wouldn't have success. Obviously, we
Right.
know over in Denver there was constant heads bashing between him and Peyton. And even before that with Nathaniel Hackett, it was one of
Yeah.
those things where like, oh, I coached Rodgers and it worked for him. It's going to work for you. Just trust me, bro. So it's one of those things that like maybe this is what he needed, that someone who's willing to
Right.
work with him and put the right system in place so he can succeed.
Well, that's where, the Steelers have always, that's why their coaches go on to be, coaches other places. And that's because they understand their talent pool and what they have to do with it and how do you make it work. One size, ladies and gentlemen, doesn't fit all. Okay. So those coaches who, like a Sean Payton, Sean Payton, I, I, I almost put him in the almost put him in the same sentence as Bill Belichick. He doesn't belong there. But the analogy follow me. When
I already
Belichick,
see it. You don't even have
yeah,
to say anything. I already
Belichick,
see the analogy.
Belichick didn't have Brady. He didn't win. Okay. Sean doesn't have Drew Brees. He's not going to win. I think we've seen that. Okay. Um, Sean's a Sean's a fine coach. I'm not disrespecting him. Not disrespecting Coach Belichick either. But it is what it is. We're looking at what we see. We see, nobody. We see two coaches who are not winning, and two quarterbacks who are waiting their time to get into Canton, into the Hall of Fame. So you do the math. Belichick, if he ever goes back to coaching, I'm sure he'll be fine. If he doesn't, he's on his way to Canton. And to be honest, so is probably Sean. I don't. He's got the numbers to do it. But what we have seen is if you're asking who's better at winning, the quarterback or the coach. Obviously, the quarterback can go into another system and win. The coach can't, seemingly. Oh, we also forgot. I'm sorry, we didn't forget. I forgot. Our buddy from New England gets traded to Atlanta or Jacksonville. I'm sorry, Jacksonville.
Yeah,
Mac Jones is in Jacksonville.
my
What's that
first
all
thought.
about?
My first thought about that was, do you really think Trevor Lawrence feels any pressure on him with that trade? Because I
Oh, I
wouldn't
don't think
feel
that was
any pressure.
pressure at all. I think it was just a matter of that's your safety valve.
Yeah, that's one of those, right? Like if you get injured, we have a guy that
Break the
maybe can.
glass. You break the glass and take him out and use him.
Yeah, definitely. I think. See, that's the difference, right? With the
Mm-hmm.
Russell Wilson thing, Kenny Pickett, I think, should be shaken in his boots a little. Hasn't quite shown the performance, and he
Right.
might have to earn his job this year. Trevor Lawrence, I think, considering he had to go through the Urban Meyer disaster in his
Right.
first season of the NFL, I think he's rebounded well.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
shown his potential as a quarterback. Even
Doug
the ability
Peterson's
to
done
use
a
his,
wonderful job.
absolutely. He's a great coach too. Love that guy. Obviously, he's very loved with the Eagles fans as well. Big
Yeah.
reason. Yeah, anybody that can take Carson Wentz and go win 15
win.
games in a season and then take Nick Foles into the playoffs and win the
Right.
Super Bowl. You got my respect for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think so. The Russ was that, and then more so this is like, okay, we'll have him as a backup, but there's no real threat of him stealing your job, Trevor.
The first job he will have is carrying the clipboard and signaling to Trevor Lawrence what the plays are. But I think if for Mac Jones, it's probably one of these. Good Lord, get me out of anything to get me out of New England is a good thing, and landing on his feet in Jacksonville is probably not the worst thing that happens. Where do you think Cousins is going? Is he going back to Minnesota? Is he going to Atlanta, which is what has been rumored? I mean, they were rumored for the Mayfield deal. I can't imagine that if they're rumored for the Mayfield deal, they wouldn't be rumored for Cousins.
Is he going to San Francisco?
I
don't know.
Why?
Yeah,
I don't.
I
I mean,
don't.
he's older than Baker, and you know he's a serviceable quarterback. Um, could he win in Atlanta? It's who you put around him. I mean, that's always been Kurt's problem. It's not that Kurt can't win. It's Kurt needs playmakers around him to win. Kirk Cousins is not going to single-handedly carry a team to a playoff. That's not in his DNA. Okay. Great kid, wonderful competitor. He's not that guy. He is a guy, if you surround him with the talent, to be capable of taking you to the playoffs. That he can do.
Yeah,
but,
definitely. He puts the stats up every year.
Yeah. If you, but you got to surround him with a group. And as I said before, see Atlanta, they don't have that group of players to make Kirk Cousins, that kind of guy. Now, if they go and get a quarterback in the draft, which is possibly unlikely what they're going to do, you can't expect that somebody's going to step off college campus and take again a team that is lacking the weapons to the playoffs. So we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, and maybe that's what's baked into the line with Atlanta, right? Maybe the odds makers seem to think that they're going to land Kirk Cousins, and so that might be why you're seeing that. But if they don't, then I mean, take the Bucks plus 240 right now to win that division
quickly before anything happens. We got the thing that couple of TV mentions here today. True TV, which is part of the Warner Brothers and Discovery Networks channel lineup, is going all sports. So you'll have all of the fun stuff that you get on TNT and TBS over on True TV, and they did it a week before the NCAA tournament, where they always carry games on True TV on there. So yeah, they're going to have a nighttime sports center, which will start at 6:00 Eastern time, and so we're going to see what it's going to look like for that. But it's also been really amazing. Few months of college basketball on the women's side. And, I think that when you take a look at what's going on with the Hawkeyes down there, it's so much fun to watch that whole, Caitlin is just amazing. Okay. The fact that University of Iowa basketball with Caitlin playing as well as she does, I was getting ratings that is better than NCAA men's games. Okay. So Iowa's must-see TV, and, we're only going to see her for a few more weeks before she turns pro and goes to the WNBA. But she's got that wonderful. Not only can she shoot, but she's got that confidence. She's cocky without being, arrogant, and I think she's fun to watch. It's cool to watch her play. It's cool to watch that entire Iowa team play.
Yeah, definitely. I was gonna say, is she going to the WNBA? I see all these people photoshopping Detroit Pistons jerseys on her. So,
I wouldn't doubt that they would give her a shot.
Maybe she's the one to turn that sorry franchise in Detroit around.
Yeah, you know what? It couldn't hurt it. It wasn't. By the way, it wasn't the first time. I'm not sure. I forget. I may have to look this up. Nancy Lieberman was, excuse me, quite a star back in the day, and Nancy got drafted into the NBA. Went to a camp. And found out that was probably not where she was meant to be, but so yeah, I mean, maybe the Photoshop of the Detroit Pistons would be a good thing. I think the Pistons, given what happened this year, they could probably have the first 3 or 4 people in the draft and still have trouble. But we'll see. That's a management issue with those boys. They got some people up there. You just wondering what the heck's going on with that. Before we go, we talked about this week being college basketball tournament week, and if we take a look at some of the games today, I mean there's some stuff here. Towson is taking on Charleston, 6:00 tonight. That's a Colonial Athletic Conference game. Cleveland State takes on Oakland. Oakland being, for those of you not knowing, that in the horizon, Oakland is suburban Detroit. As a suburb of Detroit. So Oakland University and Cleveland State battling it up. That's a 7:00 tip. Also at 7, you get Arkansas State against James Madison, and James Madison has been playing incredibly well basketball the last while. Stony Brook and Hofstra is an 8:30 tip. You got Santa Clara and St. Mary's. That might be the game of the day at 9:00, just to see St. Mary's. Not that Santa Clara is going to beat them. Wisconsin, Milwaukee, and Northern Kentucky is the game at 9:30, and then 11:30 if you can stay awake. This might be good. I want your
This one's is not the game of the day. This one is.
This is the idea. It just came to my face. Gonzaga, and San Francisco. It's the WCC tournament. It's 11:30. This one is. You're right. This one is absolutely the game of the day.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that one, or if it's one of your picks? Go ahead, step aside.
I personally, I don't have anything in the WCC today, so
okay.
All good. I will say that I know there's a few of these, like the Horizon League and the WCC here. These played like last week and over the weekend, right. And so now this is really like the semifinals, pretty much, right? So this is, these are monumental games.
We'll have a championship in both of those tomorrow, a championship game.
Yeah, and we should. I would think we see St. Mary's beat Santa Clara, show up in the finals. But yeah, this San Francisco game, I mean, this is it, right? San Francisco knows they're third in that conference, and they got to beat Gonzaga here and at least go to the finals, if not win the whole tournament, if they want to secure their bid. And I think, even Gonzaga, the obviously they got a lot of name value, and they've been playing a lot better lately, but are they really secure? They weren't the best in that conference. I think they're playing with the same mindset of, let's just walk up the tournament and not have to worry about it at all. So I think, there's definitely this tournament is huge for all the teams in it. It's crazy though, because Gonzaga, I think they were like -7 this morning, and that's up to -9 now. I think it might have even been lower yesterday as well when it came out. So this is one where, Gonzaga's been steamed to 9. And even if they do win the game, you'd think San Francisco can keep it a bit close there within the 9 points. But definitely, we're either going to see – I think we're either going to see we're probably going to see St. Mary's versus Gonzaga. But if San Francisco pulls an upset, maybe that's the tournament team this year.
Well, I mean, here's the reality, okay? We know St. Mary's and we know Gonzaga will get in to the tournament. San Francisco's only way into the tournament is winning the WCC title. That's it. So they know, that every game, obviously it's an elimination game, but if they're going to go to the the dance, San Francisco has to beat Gonzaga and St. Mary's. And if they do, they definitely deserve to be in the tournament.
Yeah, definitely. This will be it for them. It's funny. We've already had a few upsets. Like obviously, High Point was a team a lot of people loved this year and was definitely they were the best in that conference during the regular season. They got kicked out over the weekend, and it's Longwood who has secured the bid in that league. So that was an interesting one. And the most unfortunate thing happened. Indiana State got kicked out by Drake. They couldn't get the Drake monkey off their back, and Drake is back in the tournament once again. So
there you go.
It was a shame. I would have liked to see Indiana State in there. Maybe they get a bid for their regular season performance. It's going to be a long shot, but yeah.
The first round tomorrow, by the way, the first round of the Big 12 tournament is Oklahoma State and UCF. That one's tomorrow. That's the first, because ironically, tomorrow is the Big 12 begins. The SEC will begin, and ACC and a couple of others. Those tournaments will begin sometime Wednesday, Thursday, as would the American and others. So it's going to be some pretty interesting games coming up. As we go through the week, the quality of or the name recognition, I should say, not the quality, the name recognition of the teams that we're going to be seeing as the tournament goes forward is going to be pretty intense.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, as you mentioned, we got tomorrow's not great. It's all the, we also have West Virginia and Cincinnati playing tomorrow in the Big 12. So definitely, first round. But it's good because as the Big 12, gets deeper, at least when we get into the first rounds of those of the SEC and the Big 10 and stuff like that, you'll have a few better matchups in the Big 12 and the ACC to watch as we get deeper. So it's positioned very well this week. But yeah, it's a huge week for these teams. There's a lot of teams that all you got to do is win the tournament to get in. And there's a lot in those conferences that specifically in the ACC and the SEC, well, maybe not the SEC, but the ACC and the Big Ten. There's a lot of teams that have underperformed this year, so it really would be a bracket buster if it wasn't, the UNC or Duke out of the ACC or the Purdue out of the Big Ten. So it'll be interesting. Those will be two conferences just to watch for bracket busters, I think, because the Big 12, Big 12's got like 6-7 teams that could make it. If any one of those 6-7 teams won the Big 12 tournament, would it be a shock? Not too much, right? It would be more of a shock if a team like Nebraska or Northwestern won the Big 10 tournament over Purdue. That would be a
stunner, yeah.
Yeah.
So, we were talking about going to the NCAA tournament and, a little history, which is kind of fun when you look back at it. We like March Madness, but March Madness didn't happen until, basically the mid 70s and early 80s. I mean, prior to 1972, there were 22 teams in the tournament, and the 22 teams were the champions of the, of their conference tournament. Okay. So again, there would be the potential of, say, a team that might be ranked very high. And I'll give you an example. South Carolina in 1970 went undefeated in conference play. They lost in the ACC tournament in the championship game and didn't get into the NCAA tournament. USC in 1971 was left out of the tournament because they lost in the championship game to a UCLA team that would go on to win the national championship. Maryland was left out in 1974, and they were the third-ranked team in the ACC, but they lost in the championship game in the tournament and lost in the ACC tournament to eventually the North Carolina State team, the Jimmy Valvano team, which we all remember from seeing Jimmy running around the court looking for somebody to hug. The NIT, which we all know right now, actually up into the early 70s had at times a better field of teams in it than did the NCAA. And as a matter of fact, going back to we talked about 1971, right? 1971, Marquette, which at the time wasn't in a conference, they were the 8th ranked team. They had been invited to the tournament, the NCAA tournament. Al McGuire turned it down to take a spot in the NIT. So
it was worth a little more playing in the NIT back then.
Man, back then, being in the NIT was seen as a more prestigious tournament. I think we all really know that 1979, when Magic and Larry, played each other in that national championship game, I think that's, if you have to point to a time when, things moved, the needle moves to people watching college basketball, I think that's probably when it happened. And that game is the one game that, that people remember from a standpoint of, as that's the one that put the NCAA tournament on, on notice. And then things in the 80s, they expanded to 32, 70s, they expanded 32. The 80s, they expanded to 64. And then from that, they expanded to 68. So, it's not been all that long that we've seen the NCAA tournament be what it is today, and that is a crazy, March Madness. And there's going to be 68 teams picked a week from, yesterday. We're going to be talking about them a week from today, and there's going to be some people. I hope it's not me bitching about teams that should have been in but that didn't. By the way, not for nothing. The new Associated Press top 25 basketball rankings are out, and there is not a single team, not one, from the American Athletic Conference in the top 25. I find that hard to believe, but okay. Doesn't have to be South Florida, but somebody should be in that in the top 25. But hey,
it's okay. The rankings are invitational too.
That's right. Seems that way.
There's a reason why the rankings don't carry much weight when we get to this time.
Quick baseball note before we get out of here. Rye Cape, our buddy, who wanted Lucas Giolito. Let's just say, Rye, you dodged a bullet, buddy, because Lucas Giolito is not going to pitch this year. He's on his second surgery for rotator cuff, and that's it's going to put him out for the entire season. There aren't many guys that come back well from 2 rotator cuff surgeries, which is not me saying that I wish him the ability not to come back. I don't. I hope that he does, but it would be nice if it works out that way. So we'll see what happens. By the way, the Orioles did something which I thought was really quite clever. They're going to play the Tampa Bay Rays here in the next couple of days in Sarasota at their spring training, and to amp up a crowd, get a large crowd at the ballpark down there. They ended up selling tickets to Rays fans for $2. So if you're in the area in Sarasota, and you're a Rays fan, check it out. You can go see the Rays and the Orioles play at the stadium in Sarasota for the cost of I was going to say for the cost of a Starbucks, but Starbucks costs more than that. So there you go.
Yeah, seems like a pretty, easy choice there.
Mhm.
$2 for an experience and a nice day at the ballpark, or
Yeah, little sun
$5
out
for
there.
overpriced flavored water.
Right, exactly. You can just go ahead and put your ball cap on. Definitely get your sunscreen out. I think the temperature tomorrow is going to be around 82 degrees there. Um, I will say this: if you've ever had the chance, you know, there's nothing like spring training baseball. It is really cool because the players are very relaxed. They're very chill. If you're somebody who likes to get autographs, that's the best time. They'll sign it. They'll take selfies. They'll enjoy. They enjoy being out there. They enjoy the fact that they can actually see the fans and talk to the fans and have fun with them. So if you're going to do that, if you're in the area or if that's something it's on your bucket list, it's whether it's the Florida State situation with the Sun, with the Grapefruit League, that's cool. Or if you're out in Arizona with the Cactus League, very cool as well. If you want to get a Shohei Ohtani autograph, that's probably your only opportunity to do it. You're probably not going to have a chance to do that at Dodger Stadium. So check it out. That's some fun stuff. Okay. Anything else before we get to the important things of what you're going to be doing on your picks today?
Yeah, I mean, just there's not much else to talk about. Obviously, there's the conference tournaments tomorrow. We have the big games tonight for the WCC and the Horizon League, some semifinals games. So keep tabs on that, because if the first rounds of these bigger conferences like the Big 12 and the ACC don't interest you tomorrow, well, guess what? We'll have some exciting finals games for maybe a few ranked teams, because obviously Gonzaga and St. Mary's could be the final there. So it'll definitely be a good one.
Well, in the Amadeus is the expert 100% on the gaming aspect of sports. Last night on the Oscars, I got 70% of the Oscar card right in my pre-Oscar picks. That probably will never happen again, but it did last night, so I'll take it. I will definitely take 7 out of 10. I'll take that. So
Hey, you also called the Tulsa win on the weekend, so
well,
you're heating up into the madness.
Yeah. Madness being the operative word in that regard. You'll see me foaming at the mouth here. But no, it's going to be fun. This is going to be a fun week, because the cool part about what's coming up here, folks, is Amadeus and I will be able to give you scores in real time, and we'll be able to talk about what's going on in real time. And I think that will be a lot of fun. And maybe we'll dip in and show you a little bit of what's going on the hardwood from around the country. But it's going to be, the madness will begin, and it's already started. And I mean, it's going to be a late night if you watch that tip with USF out there, the different USF, University of San Francisco taking on Gonzaga. That's a tip at 8:30 out in the West Coast, which means it's 11:30 here on the East Coast. So it'll be an interesting game. And we'll have some fun watching that too. I think they're playing WCC's and also playing in Vegas, right?
Yeah, I think so. So that's
Yeah.
Vegas got like 5 tournaments going on right now. So
Well, they're the only place where you got enough arenas to do it.
yeah,
they can definitely. That's
isn't that ironic, considering they didn't really have a sports team, like a professional sports team, for the longest time?
Remember that the only reason they didn't was because of the gaming. So look at that. Hey, you want to hear something funny? This will be. We'll end with this one. This is a good one. Next week, the state of North Carolina becomes the latest state to authorize legal betting, legal sports betting in the state. Now, I find it fascinating. I was going to say, I find it fascinating that they start that on the same week that Duke and North Carolina and North Carolina State and a number of other teams start their march to madness. So just saying, it's timing is everything. So I guess the state of North Carolina will make it legal, and you'll have fun with it. But yeah, that was the knock against against uh, Vegas as hosting anything college or pro for that matter, because of the betting situations, and it's expected that there will be close to, I think it's north of 60 some $1 million being bet on the first week of the NCAA tournament. So it should be, and that's not all Mattress Max money either. That's other
Yeah.
people's money too. So, we'll see. Now we got North Carolina in there, probably bust that up a little bit, huh? But
Yeah.
the money's gonna fly, boys and girls. The money's gonna fly. So anyway, all right, man. It's been fun. We hope that you've had fun. We're gonna be back with you tomorrow, and we will be talking basketball tomorrow and the rest of the week. So by all means, join us, everybody. Till tomorrow, for Amadeus, I'm Jim. Don't forget to check Amadeus' stuff out in the show box below. Take care. Bye-bye.